The U.S. government is set to shut down from midnight on September 30 if the Republican Party in the House of Representatives fails to reach a budget agreement for a temporary spending bill. With control of the U.S. House of Representatives held by the Republican Party, there is very little time left to pass a short-term budget resolution to keep the government operating beyond September 30, which is 11 a.m. on October 1 in Hanoi time. If they fail to do so, it would result in a government shutdown. A small group of Republican lawmakers in the House is opposing temporary budget measures to keep the government running past September 30. On September 29, the Republican Party in the House rejected a plan proposed by their leader, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, aimed at preventing a government shutdown. This move somewhat reflects the increasing chaos within the Republican Party as they head towards the 2024 presidential election, with the House party leadership struggling to persuade its members. If McCarthy cannot secure a budget agreement in the coming hours, this would mark the first government shutdown since 2019. During a government shutdown, millions of federal employees would go unpaid, and non-essential government agencies, except for vital services, would cease operations. Shalonda Young, the director of the White House Office of Management and Budget, OMB, mentioned that there is still a chance to avoid a government shutdown if the Republican Party can overcome its internal divisions. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stated that President Joe Biden has no intention of intervening in this dispute and that the Republican Party needs to resolve its internal issues. President Biden believes that the current situation is a result of McCarthy's willingness to appease a small group of extremist members within the Republican Party in the House. He stated, "To keep the Speaker's chair, he's willing to do things that I think he knows better are not constitutionally appropriate." As the Republican Party holds a fragile majority in the House, McCarthy had to concede to several demands from hardline members of the party earlier this year to become House Speaker. These members are now increasing pressure on McCarthy regarding the government budget issue. However, McCarthy is blaming the Democratic Party, saying that they are the ones hindering the search for a solution. Lael Brainerd, director of the White House National Economic Council, warned that an unnecessary government shutdown would pose risks to the world's largest economy. The furloughing of unpaid inspectors could threaten the functioning of the aviation industry. Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen cautioned that a shutdown could also delay efforts to improve U.S. infrastructure. In the short term, a government shutdown will reduce GDP by 0.2% per week, according to a report by the Center for Strategic and International Studies released on September 29. The closure of key trade agencies will weaken the U.S.'s standing as a trade partner, disrupt ongoing negotiations, and impair export control capabilities. The risk of a U.S. government shutdown is also overshadowing efforts to provide aid to Ukraine. The White House insists that any budget legislation must include $24 billion in military and humanitarian aid for Ukraine, while a few hardline members within the Republican Party in the House are staunchly opposed to cutting off aid to Kiev, considering it a crucial goal. The White House and Republican congressional leaders reached an agreement in May to continue funding the government before the spending law expires on September 30. According to the agreement, the U.S. government would continue to be funded for national security priorities and essential domestic issues while reducing the budget deficit by $1 trillion over the next 10 years. However, President Biden believes that the party's extremist members are not respecting this agreement, putting the government at risk of a shutdown. The U.S. government has previously experienced 3 shutdowns during former President Donald Trump's term in office.